I'm Jeff Koinange. Welcome to Rwanda Television News. And in case you think you've switched to Citizen Television, don't panic. This is our TV, and yes, I'm the guest anchor. In the headlines tonight, President Paul Kagame has pointed out that the African Continental Free Trade Area is the answer to the problem of the continent's need to import food products, saying that Africa should be self-sufficient when it comes to food supplies. Fiona?
Thank you, Jeff. Now, some people who are planning to wed during this season have said that despite the measures in place to control the spread of COVID-19, they are concerned about the extra financial cost they will incur on mandatory testing for every guest. And on the international scene, South African police say all allegations of brutality will be investigated as a new Corruption Watch report emerged alleging police are the most corrupt among the country's civil servants. It is a great honor to have the legendary Jeff Koinange with me in the studios. Of course, he will be my guest anchor, so do not touch that dial, Jeff.
Did you just call me legendary? Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness.
Man, it's quite an honor.
By the way, Fiona, I brought you a gift.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
for
you so much.
It's a copy of my book.
Jeff Koinange, Through My African Eyes.
That's it. It's my my memoir about my travels throughout Africa. And I've been in this business for a long time, so if you're a student of journalism or you just like a good read,
definitely.
I guarantee you, not just because I wrote it, but it's a good read.
It is.
It's good to be in Kigali again, and thank you for inviting me.
It feels like home, doesn't it?
It is. Home away from home.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful place. You guys have no idea, honestly. I mean, Nairobi, yeah, it's Nairobi. It's like the New York of Africa, but Kigali.
Kigali.
TV News, I'm Jeff Koinange along with Fiona Mbabazi. I didn't say that right. Mbabazi.
Mbabazi.
Mbabazi, okay. Now, on to international news. And South African police say all allegations of brutality will be investigated as a new Corruption Watch report emerged, alleging police are the most corrupt among the country's civil servants. Now, this comes as 3 officers appeared in court on Thursday over the killing of a disabled 16-year-old boy. Take a look.
Jeff, thank you, man, for making time, of course, to be my guest anchor tonight.
It's my pleasure. I love Kigali. I love Rwanda. I love what this country has become, and it's great to. By the way, before we go on, I brought you 2 extra copies of my book, just in case,
Just in case, yes.
And I want you. I've signed them. Okay, they're all autographed. Give them to whoever you think should get it. Loyal RTV viewers. 1 male, 1 female. Keep it 50-50. Give it to whoever you want. It's up to you.
Thank you. So you got this. You got this. You got
whoever
this.
deserves it, show us. At Koinange Jeff. What's your Twitter handle?
At Fiona Mbabazi 1.
At RB.
At RBA.
Yeah.
At RBA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag.
Jeff
RBA.
in Kigali.
No. no, Jeff in Kigali. RTV.
RTV.
There
Yes.
you go.
Yes.
Do it. Send a tweet. Why should you get a copy of the book?
And then we'll.
Fiona will decide.
Definitely. So take us briefly through your journey and how you got here for you to be, the Jeff Koinange that we see today.
Mine is a funny journey, honestly. After high school, way back in the mid 80s, a long time ago, first of all, my father died when I was 2 months old. 2 months in 1966, and he left behind a 28-year-old widow and 4 kids. I was the youngest. I was 2 months old. So growing up, it wasn't that easy growing up. And what our mother did was she said, I'm going to give you the one thing that'll help you shine in the world. I'll lay that foundation, which is education. She did that to us. She gave us a good education, took us to some great schools. And after high school, I tried to apply to college. I couldn't get a scholarship. And I wanted to play sports. I was so good in football and rugby and basketball. Believe it or not, I was back in the day. And I couldn't. So I figured, you know what? Let's see what happens. And then one day I'm working in Nairobi with my first job as an office messenger and office assistant. And I see this ad in the paper. The ad says, we're looking for flight attendants for an airline back in the day known as Pan Am. Very famous American airline, long time ago, called Pan American World Airways, Pan Am. And they said, we're looking for African flight attendants for the very first time to fly the routes. And I said, wow, flight attendant, see the world for free. I'm 19 years old, let me apply. So I applied along with 10,000 people. And they selected 40
Wow.
to go to Miami, Florida in the spring of 1986.
Wow.
To cut a long story short, as we're training, we're in an aircraft that's not flying, it's on the ground, it's part of the training. And they say, hey, Jeff, what's your name, Jeff? Yeah, Jeff, go up to the front and make some announcements for us. You know, on the PA, like on a plane. You know, when you get on the plane, announcement saying, put your seats, or your baggage under the seat, on the overhead. So I got on the microphone. I said, okay, no problem. I'm acting, let me act. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Pan American, Clipper flight number 088 from Nairobi, Kenya. We're continuing services to Lagos, Monrovia, Dakar, and New York. And I started talking, you know. All of us are trained in cabin safety, and I'm reading the whole manual. Please pay attention to the flight attendants in front of you, and we'll direct you, blah, 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 blah. The guy looked at me, right? He was in the back of the airplane, and he looked at me and said, do that again, man. Do that again. I said, do what again? He said, do that thing you just did again. I said, oh God, I've made a mistake. they're gonna fire me.
Yeah.
I said, all right, let me try it again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Pan American, Clipper flight number 088 from Nairobi, Kenya, with continuing services to Lagos, Monrovia, Dakar, New York. He says, you're the guy. I said, I'm what guy?
What guy?
He says, you're the guy. I said, I'm what guy? He says, you're the guy we're looking for. That voice. And I said, my God. And it was then that I realized that was my gift.
That was your gift.
I had no other gift. I couldn't be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer. I couldn't. The voice was in the bottom of my throat. Yes. My gift. Can you imagine? That's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
And you stick. It's not changing.
Yes.
In the midst of this, you know, COVID pandemic, Jeff, I know you also tested positive.
Can you imagine me? Of all people.
So how was the experience? How was, you know?
Look, it was contact tracing. I didn't even know, right? So it was contact tracing. My colleague at Citizen Television, Stephen Leto, tested positive. And they asked him, Stephen, who were you with? And I have this morning radio show, right, on Hot 96. And he says, oh, I was in the morning show with Jeff and so, and Hamo and the rest of the gang. And they said, oh, you need to test. So boss calls me, Shiro Aruru calls me and says, Jeff, you need to test. I need to test what? You just need to test for COVID. I said, why should I test? He says, well, Leto got it, so you get it, it's contact tracing. So sure enough, I tested and I was positive. And I said, oh my God.
With no symptoms?
Zero. Oh, well, I lost my taste for a while, but that was the only thing. So I said, you know what? This thing has become so stigmatic. It's such a stigma. Everyone's freaking out. They're going crazy. COVID's going to kill you. And I said, I'm going to come out. I'm just going to announce on social media. I didn't even tell my boss. I said, I'm just going to say I'm COVID positive. I'm taking 2 weeks off, and I'm going to be okay. You know, just like most people turn out to be asymptomatic, which means they'll go through the whole thing and they'll come out on the other side. But people get so scared. They think, oh God, it's the end of the world. Oh, Jesus. And then the West makes it worse for us. And they say, oh, how come those Africans aren't dying? Why aren't those people dying? I said, you know, the simple answer, been through HIV/AIDS, we've been through Ebola, we've been through malaria every other day. I mean, COVID, take a number, get in line. That's what we say. And that's, you know, that's our strength as Africans, honestly.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. We have the resilience.
We do. We do. We do, absolutely. The book.
Yes.
Through My Africa. What's the book about? You know?
Look, it took me 7 years to write, first of all.
7 years.
7 years to write
and
this
it's your
book.
second book?
It's my second book, yeah. The first one was very educational and academic, I would say. But this one is about, I've been in this business almost 30 years, 30 years. My first job was in May 1991, right out of NYU in New York. And I got my first job at ABC News. So, and of course, it talks about my life growing up in the Nairobi of the 1960s, which, by the way, 60s and 70s was the best time to grow up in Kenya. And when I come to Kigali, I see the Nairobi of the 60s and 70s, only it's 2020. So Kigali has got it right. And I'm not saying this to blow smoke up anyone's skirt. I'm just saying, you guys got it right. The streets work, the traffic works, the people pay attention. You know, it's all about discipline. And out here, I see discipline. I see law and order. I see things working. You know, people laughed. My good friend, and I say my good friend with all respect, President Kagame, my good friend for many years, he once said, I'm going to make Rwanda the Singapore of Africa. People laughed. People laughed. They said, oh, Singapore is an island. Singapore. He says, Watch. And Singapore is a tiny little island in Southeast Asia, which has no natural resources. But they had the port. And the guy who built Singapore, a guy called Lee Kuan Yew, you know the book, From Third World to First, he says, I'm going to make this country known around the world. President Kagame said the same thing. And they said, yeah, Rwanda's landlocked. We have no outlet to the sea. Okay, fine. We'll make it the Switzerland of Africa. Switzerland is landlocked. They only have what? Lake Geneva, and they have the Alps. Okay, Rwanda has Lake Kivu, and they have those mountains.
Yes.
Look at this. I'm telling you, this is not rocket science.
It is not.
You guys got it right.
So your experiences, how, I'm sure, I've gone through a bit of, through it on the internet. The experiences that you went through, Jeff, the forefront, people dying, writing the African story, standing by Africa through it all. How has this shaped you over the years?
Look, like I said, I had no other gift, so I figured if I'm going to do this, I've got to do it right. And, in the front lines, back in the 90s, Africa was a wicked place, wicked place. West Africa, Sierra Leone, Liberia, child soldiers, and they were 8, 10-year-olds with AK-47s and a crazy mind. And, we had to cover the stories to tell the world. And it was rough. I saw my colleagues shot in the streets of Freetown. I saw, it was horrible. But you know what? I figured, instead of those people flying in or parachuting in to tell our story, someone has to tell it from the ground. One of our own. This is a story for us, by us. And I kept going. I said, you know what? This is my mission. Wherever it takes me. It's like Rwanda, post-1994. There was a mission for this government. They said, this is where we're going. If you want to come with us, get on board. And I figured, with my life, what am I going to fall back on? I have nothing to fall. This is all I can do. So I might as well tell my people stories. So from Freetown to Monrovia, Liberia, another crazy place back in the 90s. And look at it now. Everything, it's a renaissance almost. It's coming out together. Africa's really coming together. And it will, with your generation. These kids growing up now, and you heard at the African Green Revolution Forum, 75% of this continent is young people. It's you guys. Your turn to take over. And this is the moment. COVID is a silver lining. People don't know this. It's a silver lining. People need to take advantage because the world is now even. If you see this day, 9/11, 2001, right? September 11th?
Yep.
All flights stopped flying in America. They stopped all flights. Never in the history of America have all flights been stopped. COVID 2020 stopped all the flights on the planet. For a few months, right?
Yes.
Every flight was stopped on the planet. You know what that means? This is the great equalizer. So whoever's going to come up, this is the moment. If you don't grab that opportunity, you wait another 50 years, and I'm not going to be around.
That's true, man. Before you go, the advice to the young journalists who are watching, that's one of the questions that has come. Can you tell us what can we do? What are we not doing right? How can we tell our African stories better?
I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'll just tell you two things. And I always tell every journalist, every person who wants to be you when they grow up, I say two things. One, you're only as good as your last story. You do a great story, people love it. People say, oh, you're the superstar, Fiona. Tomorrow, you sleep in late. You don't come to work, people forget you.
That's true.
People forget you. By the end of the week, they won't know who you are. I had a colleague of mine in Freetown, Sierra Leone, in January 1999. I remember, he was a superstar. Got shot in the streets. He was the headlines for 24 hours. 48 hours, that little thing that runs on the bottom of the screen, that ticker? He was there. 72 hours later, nobody knew. A year later, nobody remembered. 10 years later,
that's true.
Memory. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You're only as good as your last story. And then the other one, you're only in this if you're passionate. This is a calling, huh? It's a calling. Don't do it to be a superstar. Don't do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, superstar for what? For who?
For who?
Yeah. Do it if you have a passion to tell your story. And nobody can tell the African story better than us. Nobody.
Nobody.
If you don't, unless you want those people to come and tell your story. And they will, very freely, happily. Parachute in, tell the story, get out.
If you're to go back in time then, Jeff, as we sum up, would you change anything all through the time?
How much time you have?
2 seconds.
No, I think I was born to do this, I think. I was born to do this. And, And hopefully some people can be inspired to do this even better. I will have done my job. That's it. I'd walk off the stage, go home.
Absolutely. Well, it is an honor, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us today, for our news and inspiring and the books. Do not forget, keep tweeting.
Yeah, at Koinange Jeff.
And at Fiona Mbabazi 1.
At RBA.
Yes.
Hashtag RBA News. Do it. If you want the book.
book.
I mean, if you don't want it, Fiona will take it and give it to a friend. So it's up to you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Fiona Mbabazi.
And I'm Jeff Koinange. Tonight. No, I'm kidding. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care. God bless.